Hey Collective, welcome back. I hope you're having a good day today. So, you probably feel like you're the same person you were a decade ago. Your core values, your quirks, the fundamental essence of you, that stuff feels permanent, right? Like it was all locked in during your teens and early 20s, set in stone for the rest of your life. Well, if that's you, I'm sorry, then you're doing it wrong. Huge longitudinal studies, some following tens of thousands of people for over decades, have revealed a surprising truth. Our personalities are constantly changing, often without us even realizing it. It's a slow, quiet evolution happening in the background of our busy lives. Have you ever looked back at a cringy photo or social media post from your past and thought, I cannot believe that was me? That feeling of disconnect isn't just nostalgia or embarrassment. It's a clue. Today, let's talk about the unnoticed personality shifts caused by major life events and the subtle signs that you're secretly evolving. For a long time, the prevailing wisdom in psychology was that personality was like plaster. It's soft and impressionable in childhood and adolescence, but once you hit 30, it hardens and sets for good. This idea was comforting in a way. It gave us a stable, predictable core to our identity. You could know yourself, and others could know you. But this theory, as it turns out, has been completely overturned. Research has shown that our personality is much more like clay. It remains workable throughout our entire lives. The most compelling evidence comes from vast meta-analysis that combine data from hundreds of studies tracking the same groups of people for years and repeatedly measuring their personality traits. These analyses reveal clear, predictable patterns of change across adulthood. As people move through life, they don't just change randomly. They tend to change in a specific, positive direction. On average, people become more agreeable, more conscientious, and more emotionally stable as they age. Psychologists call this the maturity principle. We get better at handling life's challenges, we become kinder, and we get more organized. We stop trying so hard to be the person we think we should be, and slowly become the person we are. And that person is often quite different from the one who started the journey. So, if your personality is always in flux, why don't you feel it happening? Why isn't there a specific Tuesday where you wake up and say, I feel 10% less neurotic today? The reason is that these changes are almost always gradual. They happen in tiny incremental steps, accumulating over years. It's like watching a coastline erode. You don't see the difference day to day, but after a decade, the landscape is noticeably altered. Psychologists use the framework of the Big Five personality traits to map these changes. Think of them as the 5 main dials that define your personality profile. These dials are not fixed. They're slowly being turned throughout your life. The typical trends look something like this. First, neuroticism, which is your tendency to experience negative emotions like anxiety and sadness. For most people, this trait tends to decline with age. The things that sent you into a spiral of worry in your 20s might barely register as a blip on your emotional radar in your 40s. Life experience teaches you that you can handle challenges, and you gradually become more emotionally stable. Next is extroversion, your level of sociability and enthusiasm. Longitudinal studies show a consistent, gentle decline here for many people across their lifespan. The person who once needed to be at every party to feel energized might later find deep satisfaction in quiet evenings with a few close friends. Then we have openness to experience, your appetite for novelty, art, and abstract ideas. This trait also tends to see a decline after young adulthood. This doesn't mean you become boring. It often means you shift your focus from seeking constant newness to finding depth and richness in your existing routines and relationships. The fourth trait is conscientiousness, which involves being organized and goal-oriented. This one has a more interesting arc. It tends to rise through young adulthood and into midlife as we take on careers and families. We become more responsible because we have to. However, some studies show it can dip in late life, as strict demands of work and family life lessen. Finally, there's agreeableness, your tendency to be cooperative and kind. This is the one trait that consistently trends upward for most people as they get older. We tend to become more trusting, forgiving, and focused on nurturing relationships. These combined shifts are the maturity principle in action. In general, as we navigate life, we tend to become calmer, kinder, and more reliable versions of ourselves, whether we realize it or not. So, friends, I have a question for you. Are you evolving? Or are you still stuck doing and thinking the way you did 10 or 20 years ago? Because these changes are so gradual, you need to know what to look for. Think of yourself as a detective investigating your own identity. Let me give you 6 subtle signs that your personality has been evolving under the surface. Number 1, the who was that phenomenon. This is perhaps the most common clue. It's when you stumble upon an old diary entry, a social media post from 10 years ago, or a story friends tell about you, and you have a moment of genuine disbelief. Did I really write that? Or did I actually do that? That feeling of alienation from your younger self is a direct consequence of personality change. Our brains are not perfect recording devices, and our memory of who we think we were is often unreliable. We tend to remember information that fits our current self-image better than information that doesn't. That feeling of who was that is you bumping up against the hard data of your own evolution. Sign number 2, your social thermostat has been readjusted. Think about how you socialize now compared to 5 or 10 years ago. Do you crave big loud parties, or do you prefer intimate dinners? Do you have a wide circle of acquaintances or a small, tight-knit group of confidants? A shift in your social habits is often a direct behavioral sign of change in your underlying personality, particularly in extroversion. A gradual decline in extroversion doesn't mean you've become antisocial. It just means your social thermostat has been recalibrated. The level of stimulation you once found energizing might now feel draining, and you've unconsciously adjusted your life to match your new baseline. Sign number 3, your friends notice before you do. Have you had a friend or family member say something like, "You're so much calmer than you used to be," or "I've noticed you've become really disciplined with your new hobby"? Listen to those comments. They're often more accurate than your own self-perception. Psychologists call this the self-other discrepancy. We're often the last to know about our own changes because we're too close to see them. Studies have shown that people who know us well can reliably detect changes in our behavior, sometimes even better than we can ourselves. They have an outside perspective and can see the you of today in contrast to the you of yesterday. Sign number 4, your definition of a good time has changed. What do you do for fun now, and how has that changed? Maybe your weekend plans used to be about finding the most exciting new adventure, a reflection of high openness. Now, maybe a good time is tending to your garden or perfecting a recipe. This shift in hobbies and leisure is a powerful indicator of changes in your personality. A move away from pure novelty seeking towards activities that require patience and depth often signals a decrease in openness combined with an increase in conscientiousness. You're no longer just consuming experiences, you're cultivating them. Sign number 5, your reaction to a crisis is unfamiliar. Think back to the last time something went wrong. A project failed, you got into an argument, you received bad news, or a big breakup happened. How did you react? Now, compare that to how your 20-year-old self would have reacted. No drama, no gossip, lying to get people on your side, all stuck in your feelings. Much, much different, right? I hope you were calmer, more solution-focused, and less emotionally overwhelmed. You're seeing the maturity principle in action here. This is the tangible result of a long-term decline in neuroticism. You've weathered enough storms to know that you can survive them, and your nervous system has learned to react with less panic and more poise. This change in your stress response is one of the most beneficial aspects of personality evolution. Sign number 6. The things you fight for are different. What hills are you willing to die on? In your youth, your battles may have been about being right, how other people view you, being seen, or winning an argument. As agreeableness rises with age, you might find yourself letting go of the need to win. Instead, you fight for peace, harmony, for understanding, or for the well-being of the group. You might hear yourself saying, "It's not that important," to things that once felt like a personal attack. This isn't apathy, it's a reprioritization. Your personality has shifted from proving yourself to connecting with others, and the battles you choose reflect that profound inner change. Now, these changes don't just happen in a vacuum. They're often kicked into high gear by major life events. I like to call these events personality accelerators. They force you to adapt and take on new roles, and in doing so, they can dramatically reshape your traits. For example, starting your first serious career often triggers a surge in conscientiousness. Suddenly, you're accountable for a boss and a team. You have to be reliable. These new responsibilities essentially force you to level up. Or, getting married is often linked to a decrease in openness, as the drive for constant novelty can be replaced by a focus on building a stable, shared life. While research shows that the effects of any single event can be small and vary from person to person, the accumulation of these experiences contributes to the person you become. This leads us to the most powerful question of all. If my personality can be changed by outside events, can I take the driver's seat and change it myself? The answer is yes, you can. Until recently, the idea of intentional personality change was controversial. But new studies are showing that it's not only possible, but it can be done surprisingly quickly. And I can tell you from personal experience, since leaving a 20-year marriage, I am nothing like the person I used to be. I don't think, act, or feel like I used to in the best ways possible. The key here is targeted, consistent behavioral change. You can't just wish yourself into being more conscientious, but you can start by making your bed every morning or creating a to-do list. By repeatedly acting as if you have the trait you desire, you begin to automate those behaviors. Over time, these actions can become part of your identity. Incredibly, these interventions can produce the same amount of change in just a few months that might naturally take years to occur. Also, there's a trait that's often overlooked, known as sensory processing sensitivity, a trait that I personally have. People who are highly sensitive are more attuned to subtleties in their environments, which can make them more vulnerable to stress. But it's also a superpower in disguise, because research suggests that highly sensitive people respond exceptionally well to positive interventions like mindfulness and cognitive therapy, changing more than their less sensitive peers. The person you were 10 years ago is not the person you are today. At least, I hope not. And if so, well, then there's room for growth, right? And the person that you are today is not the person you'll be 10 years from now. The science is clear. Your personality isn't a fixed monument, but a living, breathing thing that is constantly adapting to the journey of your life. These changes are happening slowly and silently, driven by time and accelerated by the major moments that define us. The clues are all around you, in how you socialize, handle stress, and what you choose to fight for. And maybe most importantly, we've seen that this isn't just a passive process. With intention and effort, you have the power to consciously guide your own evolution. I did. The person you are today is just one version of you. The exciting part isn't just discovering who you were, but actively deciding who you'll become next. If this resonated or you learned something new today, please like and subscribe. And until next time, friends, keep healing. See ya.